Hello there. Thanks for joining me. I am Dr. Jen. I'm so pleased you're educating yourself by listening to today's show. I've got a longtime friend, Ron, with me on today, who's going to talk with us about a bunch of things in real estate. And I know him from lots of different perspectives. I'm excited to have him on the show, and he's going to be a great insight, great resource for many of you who, especially your newbies. If you're a newbie getting into this, or you're a nugget landlord who's been in this a long time, you're going to take away some value on Ron's thinking, which is great. Welcome, Ron Cedillo.
This is so unusual for me because usually when you and I spend time, it's usually over a glass of wine or a bottle, and Mike's cooking in the background, and you and I are just chattering like crazy because we have so much in common and we're so passionate about what we love.
I know, isn't that fun? Oh my
It
goodness.
is. It is.
Well,
It's like, oh, it's so much like, oh, where's the food? Where's the wine? Let's go.
now I happen to be in Canada today. We flew into British Columbia, so we're north of Vancouver in our Canadian location today. But where are you?
So I'm in California. I'm an hour east of San Francisco or an hour south of Sacramento down the five in a town called Tracy. And we're considered affordable housing to the Bay Area. So our starting prices are, around the 550 range, compared to the $1 million plus in San Jose or San Francisco. So we're considered a bedroom community. Most people come to us to buy their first homes, and then they'll commute an hour and a half to get to work.
Wow.
Yeah,
Each
and
way.
that's normal. Yeah, each way, and that's pretty
Holy.
normal. That's very normal, but our community has done very well. People love it. We're family oriented. There's a lot of we're like I said, we have really great housing. We're right off the 5 freeway and the 580, so a lot of trucking companies use us because of transportation. But we're really, we have a lot of talent in our area that all goes to the Bay Area for work.
That's amazing. That's pretty amazing. Now, every time I talk to you, you are traveling somewhere or you've just gotten back from somewhere. So, where have you either gotten home from or going to next?
So let's see. The last 2 weeks was kind of interesting because I was in Seattle for a seminar, and it's called the Boardroom with Kent Clothier, which one of the premier people that teaches people how to buy homes and all things real estate. And then I took the red eye to go visit my daughter who graduated and got her master's in Florida.
Nice.
Came home for 2 days and then went down to Arizona to do it's a wealth building group called Metrics, and one of the founders of there is Ben Kinney, who's one of the founders of Place, and a gentleman by the name of Brian Gubernick. And it's real estate related, but we really just talk about creating wealth utilizing real estate as one of its vehicles. So not only do I spend a lot of money spending time with people that do this, but I'm just active in that world and I love it. And I'm just passionate about it, just like you are.
Hmm. Well, and you and I talk a lot about there's sort of an emerging industry here where real estate companies are creating these very expensive education programs, and and there's many assets to it. Like, and Mike and I have done these big ticket in education programs, but I don't know if it's the best thing. And I know you and I were talking about it and going, there's definitely some benefits, but is it the best way, especially for a first time real estate investor? I don't know if that's the best thing. What do you think?
So I'll tell you a little bit of my story, and this was 20 plus years ago. I really wanted to start investing in real estate. And one of the things I did was I found a mentor, and we did a 50-50 partnership. And here's the reason why I love that program. And I've done this with other people that I've known, is I got to leverage his knowledge, a little bit of his money, and got to see firsthand him doing a deal. Now, I've been teaching investors how to be investors for, gosh, I don't know, 15 plus years. And one of my ultimate goals is to help create 40 millionaires. And the idea behind it was in order to teach others how to be a millionaire, you had to be one. And so I came from that standpoint. To date, I've helped 10 people become millionaires through education and real estate investing. So I'm a big believer in helping others. But what I got from that first mentorship was I got to see hands-on, the thought process, all those things. And people said, "Oh, well, you did this deal, but you gave them half the profit." And I always thought, well, I would have no profit if I didn't do the deal. So I'm a big believer in, do you want, a whole grape or do you want half a watermelon? And I will take
Right.
the half a watermelon every day of the week. And that's what I've done. Now, I've seen a lot of gurus out there. I pay attention to who's out there, and you can always tell when they come to town. They blow up the airwaves. Hey, come here. We're going to give you an education. And I've talked to a lot of those students of those people, and then they meet with me and they go, I spent 40,000 dollars on education, but I got a lot of rah rah, and I didn't always get what I wanted out of it,
Mm,
and I wanted that hand holding, whatever. And so I created my investment teachings, and it was just once a month, just because I like to give back and like to share. I'm just passionate about it. And they found that when they came and just spent an hour, 2 hours with me, they were getting much more because we were able to just answer the questions they want. And I charge nothing for it. I just like, hey, you buy your own dinner, we go to a local restaurant, tip well. I'm just passionate about helping people because it's fulfilling my goals. It's not my industry. It's not my business. I'm not trying to be a guru. They don't have any desire to do any of those things. You can't sue me because I took your money from a credit card. None of those things happened. And that's kind of how I've always believed it. And with the advent of YouTube, podcasts, meetup groups, you could find passionate people that just want to help one another. And Jen, you're doing a great job just educating people, and you're not charging your clients anything for this, which I love. It's just
mhm.
people that are passionate and want to share.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, you've got a couple of different options. I know you're starting a podcast soon, or have you already started it?
I'm waiting for one massive project that you know of, that to kind of go into maintenance mode before I can do it. But that's going to come eventually, and you definitely will be one of my guests on it because you and I have talked about it in depth. And I've learned so much watching you and listening to you
Aw.
that it really wants me to do it. But until I get one project under my belt and I can get back to a normal 10-hour day, I'm going to take that next project on. But right now, between the different companies that we run, I stay fairly busy, and
Mhm.
all those things have helped me get there a little bit sooner because now I'm really passionate about doing this, and just it's one of those things that I love to share, and I love just hearing other people's stories all the time.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm excited for whenever your podcast does start up because I know there's going to be a lot of crossover, and your podcast framework is very simple, and I really admire that. I think it's going to be really fun, and I think you're going to get a variety of answers. And so, listeners, if you're listening to this in 2025 or beyond, make sure you look up Ron Cedillo's podcast as we go. But more on that later, of course. I know that you've got more mentoring tools than just going for dinner and letting people pick your brain. I know there's some other group aspects that you do. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I created Central Valley Wealth Builders, and prior to COVID, we used to meet at a restaurant and we would just talk. I kind of starting to evolve this a little bit into just doing it once a month, 2-hour session where we just talk and we just, come to me with your questions and I'll just answer them. The way my brain thinks is I love puzzles. I love challenges. And people would come to me and go, "Hey, I'm doing this. How do I do this?" And we would just get it going. But the whole point behind the idea of it was I really just want to help people. And the more I've helped people, the more my life has been blessed. So I'm really fortunate in just helping people. And it was strange enough because I like to help on real estate, but I also like to help on business. And today, my mother-in-law's microwave went out. And she lives across the street. Typical everybody loves Raymond scenario. My in-laws live across the street. But so the gentleman I called to go help, he's someone I knew from, gosh, it got to be 8 years ago. And so I called him up and he went and did it. And he came over to tell me, what the final things were. And he goes, "You really put a spark and you changed my life like 8 years ago by helping me do this." And I get so much pleasure out of that. Like, it's his success. He did all the hard work, but I just put him in the right direction, gave him some right guidance, And I, it's like a proud parent moment, like, wow, I'm impacting the world in a really good way. And that's really where I try to come from is I just want to help people, but it's his success. He did all the hard work. I'm so happy for him. And now he's willing to expand and he's excited about his business growing. Awesome. I am so happy for that. I am so happy.
That is so cool. Ron, the last time that you were at our house in Maui, we had talked a bit about. I asked you a simple question. I said, "What are you reading, or what knowledge are you consuming?" And you had left me with a couple of weekly Zoom calls that I'm still on, by the way. Tim Mai, and then the other one that's on Tuesday nights that is
Zoom at 8.
Zoom at 8. I was saying something at 8. Yeah. So Zoom at 8. And so, and it's a wealth of information. And even if I can't make the Zoom calls, just the emails that they send out,
The
you can tell
recordings.
their business strategies are really good because of their email drips, their follow-ups. I've also linked up with them on LinkedIn. And so I appreciate that. So Zoom at 8, and then Tim Mai as well. And is there any other ones that you would recommend if somebody wanted to just sort of get into a weekly or periodic, education system for real estate or for business? Is there any other ones that you'd recommend, or is that it?
Because of the big project I'm working on in Maui, you and I
Yeah,
know, I've been pretty consumed. So I barely
yeah,
get a chance to do anything other than listen to a couple of podcasts on a regular basis. Right now, if no one's listening to Growth Day, Brendan Bouchard's Growth Day, that's been really a big game changer for me. Just all that positivity every day. I'll tell you what my morning routine is because one of my favorite books is The
please.
Miracle Morning. I love The Miracle Morning as a book routine. I get up and by the time I'm up and I'm brushing my teeth, I'm listening to Growth Day, 10, 15 minutes a day, really simple stuff, right? And then I'll go down, take my vitamins, and get my juice, and I'll start working out immediately. I have a home gym, really simple, tonal, nothing big, but I'm listening to Growth Day, and then I'll listen to either a podcast or I'll listen to Blinkist to get through a book every day. And then I study, not study, but I'll listen to a podcast. It's a year. uh, it's a Bible in a year. It's a daily podcast. So I can go through that in about another 15 minutes. So the first hour of my day, I completely just take care of me because I know the rest of the day people are going to be taken from me. So I'm always filling up my bucket every day. So when I go out into the world, as people are taken from me, taken from me, taken from me, I'm still replenished because every morning is my morning. And now, like where I live, it's going to be 109. Like this morning, I woke up and it was roughly about 80 degrees when I woke up. I'm taking jumping in my pool at 6:30 in the morning because it's just so hot just to cool down. And those are the things that I'm a big believer in. Take care of yourself so you can go take care of others. People always ask like, how can you give so much? It's well because I really focused on just taking care of me. And once I took care of me, then it's really easy to take care of a lot of people. And you see a lot of people, they're deficient. Like everyone's pulling from them and they haven't
Mhm.
just taken care of their own selves so they can go give to others.
That's pretty amazing. Wow. Well, we could go longer, or we could cut
I
it
can go
here.
a
What do
little
you
bit.
think?
I definitely can go longer. And one of the things you didn't talk about, because I know your audience is all about, landlords and I have a 25-year history in real estate
Yeah.
as a broker, I as an investor, I own a property management company which we manage about 300 doors. And then, I have a government contracting business that does some other stuff with government housing. But, one of the things that I really focus in on and I've been chanting this for the last couple of years, is our processes and systems.
Hmm.
Processes and systems. And I think when you can get your processes and systems down, it's going to make things a lot better. And keep in mind, I don't have a perfect thing. People yell at us. We are, always, we're in that position where, especially as a property manager or in retail sales, you know, we're set up as conflict right off the top, you
Yeah.
know. And instead of always arguing back, what I always go back to is, how can we improve that process? How can we improve that system? What can we do that? And I'm constantly chatting that to our team, going processes and systems. What can we do? How can we make that better? What did they see that we didn't see? How did that make them feel? And then can we improve that? Is there a way to improve it? And what I found was, as we're working through our process and systems, our team went from an adversarial position to, how can we prevent the next one from happening this over and over again? So I was listening to a couple of your podcasts, and ESAs, emotional support animals, big challenge across the nation. I belong to NARPM, which is the National Association of Real Estate Property
Property
Managers.
managers.
And these are the things that we talk about: processes and systems. Do you have these things dialed in to make your life a little bit easier? And one of my favorite sayings is always this to my team: if we were to show up in court, would we win? And do our processes and systems align with the law? And if I had to show up in court, they showed up in court, and a judge asked us point blank this, what would I say? And
Hmm.
and I'm always teaching us, to our team, really think about, like, if you're in front of a judge and a judge asks you this one question, what are you going to say? Because you don't want to perjure yourself.
Mm-mm.
That's not good. And he's going to think of 3 or 4 different strategies that you didn't think of. So you
Hmm.
better be right, and understand what you're doing it. And then it's got to be consistent. So if you're dealing with this one tenant, is it consistent with this tenant? Is it consistent with this tenant? And that's really what will save you a lot of money down the road.
Yeah, what you do for one, you have to do for all. Yeah,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
then the other thing that I really focus in on is spend time with the right groups. Really focus on who you're hanging out with. I know I pay to be in certain rooms that I probably don't belong in. I've gotten in there, but then I level myself up to that group. They help me get there. I just don't go in and take. Sometimes I'm the guy coming in, and I'll do everything. I'm a big believer in the big pile theory. If their pile's way bigger than mine, I'm going to shut up and listen. I am not going to talk at all. I'm just going to, absorb what they want to share, because there's so many good people that have so much knowledge. And I'm just one of those people that love learning from others.
That's amazing. Well, I'm super happy to finally have you on the podcast. I know this
Thank
is,
you.
I don't know, about a year in the making. Well, maybe not quite a year, but we had talked quite a bit about having you on, and you getting your podcast started and all of that. And so, but I was always amazed, because every time we talk, you and your wife are both going, you're doing here and you're going here and back and forth and constantly on the fly, which is really incredible. I'm so happy to hear your morning routine about taking care of yourself, and that answers the question of how you do all this, because if you didn't, Mike and I both have colds right now. We're both sick as dogs, because guess what, we've been traveling and we haven't been filling our cup. We haven't been journaling and working out and taking our vitamins and taking our smoothies and all the things that we're supposed to be doing. And once we get back into that, we go, oh, that's right, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And how you can run so fast and so far, because we also like to help people, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
That's the thing I think that really just connected you and I together, is
Yeah.
is that same love of helping, and then we're really passionate about real estate.
Yeah.
Like and we're both readers and research hounds, and we're just like, I mean, I'm like, here's my library. You're like, here's my library. And I love that. It's just and I always talk about, like, you're a giver, I'm a giver. We can just hang out all day long, because we
Hmm.
just keep giving, giving, giving. It's an infinite loop. We're both happy at the end of the day. Like,
Yeah.
we both feel so fulfilled, and we both just feel lighter afterwards. Like, wow, that felt great. Like, every time I left her home, probably partially like the wine, but I always just felt like, oh, the next day I'm like, that was a great conversation. I just loved it. And I want to research more and do some of those things. Like, I'm amazed at what you know and how you know it, because you're so
Mm,
particular about, when you research something, how in depth you go. And I think, wow, what a skill that is.
thank
That is
you.
such a skill.
Oh my. I don't know. Some days it's a curse. Well, Ron, if somebody out there listening to you wants to get on one of your mentor groups or learn
Sure.
more about you, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so like I said, centralvalleywealthbuilders.com is, one of the things that I do. If you have a question, want to get, just email me. And it's simple. It's Ron, RON, and it's at three letters, HBR, like um, Henry, Bob, Robert, and the word team. So Ron at hbrteam.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty out there, but I just, my goal is help people, impact people, and I think our world would be a whole lot better when people just help one another. And so just a big believer in just helping, because I know I've been helped. I mean, I grew up extremely poor, and my first mentor that really took me under his wing and grew me. I mean, I'm still in debt to him. Unfortunately, I get to go have dinner with him tonight, but it changed my life. It really changed my life, and I'm a big believer in mentorship. And, I know we have apprentice programs, back then, they're not as popular anymore, but I think that's what made America so great, was that apprentice program where older people were teaching younger people, not just skills, but life.
Hmm. For sure. Oh my goodness. Well, intergenerational communication is where it's at. That's actually what I did my doctorate in, which is interesting that you mentioned that. So, because I don't think you knew that.
I did not know that. That's amazing. See, that's why I said you and I could talk forever.
I know. No, we could. We could. Well, we'll talk soon. I'm sure we will connect in some way, shape, or form. Thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate you being a guest.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jen, and say hi to Mike for me. And I look forward to seeing you again in Maui.
Yeah, for sure. Hang on just a sec. Stop.